Slab go crazy on this one.
Cha! Y'all know the deal. 700 squad. Free rally. Yeah. Them suckers put your nigga on the tee, better slide on them. Gas up, mask up, nigga, slide on them. Fellas hit you up with a lick, you better slide on them. Get your money right, nigga, if you slide on them. Mind the bitches in your DM, you better slide on them. Glock 40 box of magnets, better slide on them. Sheriff get behind you, light you up, you better slide on them. Caught a felony before you better slide.
What's up? What's up? What's poppin'? Hey yo, it's NateDoggSac916 coming at you live from Sacramento. Hey, y'all know what to do, man. Hit that like, that subscribe, and that notification bell. And if you want to keep catching this fire content, hit all on that notification bell so you get every time I post, man. And go down in the comments and let me know what you want to see. Any comments you might have about the video you just watched, let me know. And you can always hit me on Instagram at Nate.Dog916. So now, let's get into it. So not only did you're saying not only did you want something, there had to be immediate repercussions for this, but you wanted to make sure that they knew who did it.
Right, absolutely, absolutely. You know, because I felt like what they had done was a disrespect to the neighborhood.
Right.
And because I felt like it was a disrespect to the neighborhood, I felt like it had to be, that's why it had to be immediately resolved. And I felt like it had to be resolved with a win. It couldn't be a maybe, which is why I didn't want to just let one of the youngsters take the fame.
Right.
So that was the part that I felt was me trying to live up to the G code. But on a very selfish level, I wanted people to know that I did it. I wanted to benefit from it. So my plan was to go up there and beat this dude's ass in front of his partners, right?
Right.
Just give him a good little check-in, right?
Right.
So I slide up on him, and I slide up on him when I make sure that some of his folks is out there, and I got some of my folks with me just in case. So we slide up, right, and he sees me at the red light right before I dip into the burger stand, and he already knows what time it is.
Right.
So he does something that escalated the situation, which was two things. First, he ran to his truck, and secondly, he dipped under his seat and flashed a pistol.
Oh, okay.
And so, unfortunately, there are common agreements in hood politics, and one of them is you can't pull a gun on someone and not use it. And if you do, the person you pull the gun on is obligated to respond in certain ways. And so what I'm talking about now, I'm talking about the values of street culture, which I had adopted for myself. And it's important for me to outline that because I don't want a youngster to hear this to feel like I'm glorifying it or that I'm saying this is what you should do. I'm simply explaining why I made the decisions I made.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
So I knew once he flashed that pistol, I knew I had to shoot him.
Right.
So what I did was, as he jumped in, as he seen me circle around the back of the hamburger stand.
Right.
He jumps in his mini truck and tries to smash off. So I slide over and I instruct one of the youngsters that was in the car with me to drive and to pull up alongside of him. So when he tried to smash off, we pull up alongside of him, and that's when I stick it out the window. I had a 12-gauge shotgun, a sawed-off.
Okay.
I stuck it out the window and stuck it in his and let off 3 times. Boom, boom, boom. His car veers and goes into a ditch that runs alongside the road, right?
Right.
I look and I see him just leaned over. So I tell him, smash, we got it, go. So we drive off, right? I take the youngsters back to their spot. I go and I drop off the gun, right?
Right.
And so I had a female that I was involved with at the time. I had her hide it so that later on I could go and take it and drop it off somewhere else. So there was a lot of mistakes I made in there. But at the time, I'm 19, thinking that this is how you respond.
Right.
This is what you're supposed to do. So luckily for me, he was playing dead. He didn't die. He didn't even get hit. he just got sprayed with the glass and sprayed with parts of the metal from the side, the side of the car. But what he did do was he immediately called the police.
Oh.
And gave up my government name and said, "Hey, look, this dude just tried to kill me."
Wow.
He left out the part that he flashed the gun on me first. But luckily, I'm glad that I didn't kill that dude, man, because I would have thrown my life away a lot earlier.
Right.
You know, it resulted in me being arrested and charged with attempted murder. They wind up eventually dropping it down to and the story of being in the county jail is a whole nother story. But they eventually dropped it down to assault with a deadly weapon and discharging a firearm into an inhabited vehicle.
Right.
Which, you know, for me was a good thing.
Right.
Because I wasn't prepared to go to prison at that time. But unfortunately, it wouldn't be long before I would have to get prepared.
Okay, so you went to the county jail for this, though, right?
Yeah. I went to the county jail. I did a 810, which is 8 months, 10 days, and then I had 5 years probation with 7 years joint suspended. Which basically meant if I served that year lid in the county and then served my probation with no violations, I would be completed. The charge would be discharged, right?
Right.
But I think that the courts knew something that I didn't know, which was I didn't have a chance in hell of completing that probation without a violation.
Right. So
about a year later,
right,
I'm out again with some youngsters. We go to the liquor store. Now, the dude that works behind the counter at the liquor store is a customer of one of my little partners. My little partners had been selling coke. The dude was in debt for a lot of change. We go up there so the youngster can hit him up about his money. The dude doesn't want to pay. He says he ain't got it. So we're in the store. What are we gonna do? We're gonna rob him. That's the genius plan we came up with. So we robbed the dude. What does he do? He calls the police.
Absolutely.
Guess what? I'm back in jail, and this time I'm headed to prison. Before I start to tell you about being in prison, I wanna highlight something that a lot of cats miss every time I tell these stories, right?
Okay.
And that's that you can keep the cheat code. You can never tell. But does that mean that the people that you encounter, the people that become your victims, do not tell? This was two good examples of the first time it was another gang member that called and told the police. And got on the stand, by the way, at my preliminary hearing. That's why I had to take that deal.
Right.
But in this second story, now it's a dude who was a couple $100 in debt for some cocaine that called the police and said he got robbed.
So a person that technically falls under that code as well.
Absolutely. If you in the game, you're under the code. And that's buyers, users, sellers, jackers, hackers, whoever.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. So so
but
don't
they violate it.
Yeah,
They
so
cheating.
go ahead. Hello?
So what I wanted to say was that those were the things that I didn't understand at those times, you know, and because I didn't understand them, they were impacting my decision making, and more, I was finding myself deeper and deeper into this life.
Right.
In the county jail, as I awaited sentencing, I would listen to the older cats who had already been to the pen, right, for a couple reasons. One, I wanted to know what I was walking into, but two, I felt like their acceptance really was what was driving all the things that I was doing in the first place.
Right.
Because as a youngster, you know, you want to be good at something, right? And guess what? I didn't play football like some of my other partners. I
Right.
wasn't a good student. But what I could do is I could go out and create havoc. I could go out and find and do the things in the streets that gave me acceptance from older street dudes. And that's really what I wanted. I wanted acceptance, man.
Okay.
I would have ran up on a school bus with an AK-47 if an older dude would have told me he loved me and he had a place for me. And that's just the truth.
Yeah, I get it. I get it 100%. So you're in the county jail, fighting this case. Now it's a robbery with 7 years hanging over your head.
Right. And you know, it's funny. It's funny. When I think back to who I was at that time, man, you know, I really didn't have any goals for my life other than being a gangster. I was a classic, what they call wannabe. But here's something special. Here's something funny. Here's a nugget for you, man. There's really no such thing as a wannabe.
Yes.
Because if a kid wants to be, he's gonna be.
Facts.
They really need to call them gonna be's, because I kind of had my mind made up. So at this point, I knew I was on searchable probation. I was still running around with guns. It was
Hold
a
on.
matter of time before I victimized somebody.
Go ahead.
So in a lot of ways, the same way when I was a juvenile, I wanted to go to juvenile hall.
Right.
In a lot of ways, I think I wanted to go to prison.
Right.
Because in the culture that I was living, that was an acceptable part of the game, and it was an expected part of the game.
Right. It's like
prison was where you went to go get laced up. You did?
Yeah, it's like daycare, elementary, high school, college.
Absolutely, absolutely, man. It's as natural as elementary, middle school, junior high, exactly, high school, college, man.
Yeah.
So I really didn't fear going to prison. You know, I remember at my sentencing, one of the detectives who had been dealing with me for years had came. He was there the day of my sentencing, and he told me, he called me by my government, and he told me, you know, yeah, you finally going to prison. You're not gonna like it. And I just looked at him. I didn't say nothing, right? But I remember thinking, you know, sending me to prison is like throwing gasoline on a fire, man.
Right.
You know, let's go. That's really how I felt, man. So being in the county jail, you know, I used to listen to the dudes and tell them. I used to listen to them talk about different factions, different prison gangs that we got down with.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so I knew who I wanted to be and what I wanted to be. I knew who I wanted to be affiliated with.
Okay.
I wound up receiving my 5 years joint suspended, plus my 2-year enhancement, and plus the 2 years for the robbery. But they ran that shit all together.
Right.
So basically, I would have 6 years to do with halftime.
Okay.
So that was before, you know, in that era, they really wasn't handing out time like they are now. I see youngsters come with way less charges than I had back then, and they stretched out now because of all these enhancements.
Yep.
You know, they didn't have that back then, and unfortunately, I'm probably one of the reasons why they do have that now.
10-year gun enhancement,
you know?
10-year gang enhancement.
Yeah, they stacking them, man. And these kids don't know. I see these kids come in here all the time and have these bewildered looks on their face.
Right.
Like, man, I only popped him in the leg, and these kids got 70 to life, 60 to life, life's over with. Don't even understand yet that man, it's the enhancements that stack you up.
Right.
So but back to my story, you know.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
The county jail prepared me in a lot of ways for the prison environment. It was the first place I saw someone make a weapon. It was the first place I learned that you have to fight.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
Where I learned that fights weren't necessarily over what you said they were over. They were over something deeper. Which
Yes.
was pecking order, or what we call respect.
Absolutely.
You got to fight for a bunk that's not right next to the pisser, or that's not just a mat on the floor. But it's not really about the bed. It's not really about the mat on the floor. What it's about is the respect of a person who has a bunk that knows he can't hold it down, surrendering it when you get there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So
Bullshit, no time. Free real, he'll be back in no time. Get money for flip bricks in no time. Dex tripping on the bitch, no time. Amount of time I got for bullshit, no time. Free rail, he'll be back in no time. Get money, flip bricks in no time. Dex tripping on the bitch, no time. Get money, get dollars, bruh. Scrooge McDuck, bang, don't misuse your luck. And hit the weed and think about it. Like Gutter say, nigga, we gon' see about it. My nigga just got hit, I'm waiting on the word. I pray to God he pulled through for the family sake.